All right, good morning again, everyone. This is Nick Petro at the National Weather Service in Raleigh with your weekly impact weather briefing. Now, it is Monday morning, and we do these webinars every Monday, but it just so happens, obviously, we've got a winter weather advisory out right now as well. So today's webinar, today's briefing, is going to be a little longer than our typical Monday morning briefings because of this situation we've got ongoing right now. But anyway, here's the intro slide. And certainly wanted to call your attention to the winter weather advisories that are issued across the Triad regions and points west and north. Now, if you follow along our our PowerPoint briefings that we emailed out earlier today, the changes since that briefing was emailed earlier today, we've lowered the ice accumulation amounts in the Triad region, and we slightly, ever so slightly, delayed the onset or when we think the freezing rain could begin, and I'll get to that in just a minute. But let me show you first these couple slides here. So here's the main points. We think that there could be maybe a couple hundredths of an inch of ice accrual due to freezing rain, mainly across the Triad region, and you know the northern and western Piedmont along and especially northwest of I-85, I-40 corridor this late this afternoon and tonight. Now, what's that going to result in? That's going to give us some scattered slick spots, especially on overpasses, elevated roadways, secondary roads. And the main thing is, if there's any sheltered locations, any normally colder spots, I think they'll be more susceptible. The ground is particularly cold. I mean, we've been in 8 days of at or below freezing, 8 days in a row where temperatures have not gone above freezing. So, you know, the ground is cold, frozen, you know, and that may play into things as well. Again, those sheltered locations where there is a little bit of freezing rain, it wouldn't take much for that light rain to ice up. So anyway, and as we're back on these slides here, so you know, are the impacts going to be substantial? Probably not, just limited to elevated. We're not expecting enough ice accumulation to cause any power outages or anything like that. Here is what we're expecting in terms of how much ice is going to accumulate, and we're talking less than 1/10 of an inch of ice. And you see right here, you can see in this area here, highlighted right here in the Triad region, you know, Winston-Salem, Greensboro, Lexington, maybe up toward High Point. That's where we think that the if there is any freezing rain, ice accrual, that's the best shot, best place. What about what time? When's it going to get here? This graphic here shows the onset. So when could the freezing rain very first begin? And we're talking mainly, you know, 4 p.m., let's say, from Lexington to Winston-Salem to Greensboro. You know, there could be a touch of freezing rain there west of Roxboro, but again, the area highlighted here on this slide is where the areas we think will have the best chance to see any type of freezing. Honestly, really the place that may, there's one place here that probably is going to be the one place in our CWA that's probably going to see any kind of freezing rain, you know, is the area I just highlighted there, north and west of Winston-Salem. Indications this morning, the trend, that is, you know, following the trend in the forecast, would suggest, you know, once you get east and south of Winston-Salem, the risk of any kind of major impacts really decrease. So, so that's the way that's shaping up. Let me switch here real quick to this product here, just to show you what's happening right now. This is what's going on right now. This is live radar, live temperatures, live data, and you could see across most of central North Carolina some welcome readings above freezing. This is the first time this has happened since the last time we were above freezing during the daytime was on December 30th. So, and it's been a long time below freezing. These numbers are welcome. In terms of where there's freezing precipitation occurring right now, let me put some coloring on here to highlight the red indicates freezing rain, and you could see there's a few sleet reports over in the mountains, maybe a touch of freezing rain. There's some light freezing rain there in Knoxville. But even at that, it's not particularly widespread in terms of the freezing rain. And one thing I'll point out, though, why, you know, with temperatures well above freezing, you might be wondering, well, why are we even concerned at this point? Two reasons we're concerned. These numbers right here on the screen, these are dew points. And dew point values convey, how moist or how dry it is. And given that these dew point values are so low and so dry, what happens is when you precipitate, when you pour rain into a dry air mass like this, it causes the air temperature to cool. So again, here's the dew points, with dew point readings, in the teens and even single digits. When we start raining into that, that'll cause these temperatures to cool. And that's why we are thinking that places like across the Triad will have the best chance to see some of that freezing rain. I think once you get east of there or south and east of I-40, 85, I-85, I think it's just going to be just too warm, really, to have any major. There are a few exceptions, though, and I'll show you that here another way. This is model simulated reflectivity from one of our high-resolution models, and this shows this is, again, simulated reflectivity. So this time frame right here is noon. This is 1 p.m. This is 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8, 9, 10, 11 tonight, midnight tonight, 1 a.m. tonight. So you can see, let me back up here. Looks like it's going to first get into the Triad, maybe the rain that is, around 2 p.m. But you're wondering, well, wait a minute, you just showed me on another slide that the freezing rain onset's 4 p.m. Well, that's right, because it's going to take an hour or two for pouring rain into dry air before the temperatures actually cool back down to freezing. So, so initially, that's why we have the freezing rain onset at 4 p.m., but yet this model shows it might be raining as early as 2 p.m. It's going to take time for that air to cool back down or below freezing. And then as the event wears on, you can see it's pretty scattered in nature. This is 8 p.m. this evening, and this is this time frame right here is 10 p.m. tonight. I will point out this model, you can see little speckles of orange here east of I-95, maybe even in Nash County, a couple speckles of what would otherwise suggest some freezing rain. And the deal there is, with all that snowpack, the heaviest snow from last week fell east of I-95. So, locations, I would not be surprised in these areas here that got a lot of, have a much thicker snowpack remaining. There could be a sheltered location, a shady location, a low spot, a dip, a lower spot that perhaps could see maybe a very brief period of freezing rain. But again, temperatures are on their way up, and don't expect this to be a major problem east of the Triad. So anyway, there you have it for timing. I hope that explains it a little bit. Again, with going real quick back to current observations, radar and temperature, and you can see, the coldest readings are over that snowpack that I pointed out right now. They're still, in the lower 30s, and clearly it's rising above freezing pretty much everywhere else. But that's not the main concern. The main concern are these low dew points and the opportunity for the air to cool back below freezing. So we're going to be watching this. We don't think it's a major deal. It could be just somewhat nuisance-y type elevated roadways, particularly in the northwest Triad region, where there might be a touch of freezing rain accumulation. All right, hope that clarifies some of that. So the summary for today's freezing rain winter event, if you want to call it that, precipitation amounts will be light. Let me make sure real quick here. Let me check and make sure you're seeing this slide. Okay, very good. Precipitation amounts will be very light. We are concerned that the unprecedented cold temperatures over the past week, the ground is solid, so we don't want to completely write off, icing opportunity because of how cold it's been. But in terms of our confidence, we have the highest confidence that there could be some freezing rain for Forsyth County. Once you get south and east of Forsyth County, our confidence is low to moderate at best that there will be freezing rain. And where there is freezing rain, moderate impacts, mainly regarding those elevated roadways. Not expecting any power outages or anything like that. So period of greatest impact, by 4 p.m. where it is raining, the temperatures should by then have an opportunity to cool back toward freezing. So that's why we have 4 p.m. This afternoon through midnight. Would I be surprised if I saw a pellet of sleet mixed in? Probably not. But just wanted to mention that in terms of winter precipitation type, this would be mostly freezing rain. Again, mostly over Forsyth County and points east and south, expecting mostly a rain situation here. Again, although if we briefly saw some freezing rain south and east of Forsyth County, that's what it would be. It would be brief with no accumulations expected. Cold rain is expected elsewhere. So anyway, that's the way that's shaping up. What about the, oh, by the way, I will update these slides by 4 p.m. today, and I'll email those out. I'll email out these slides that we just covered. I'll email those out after we wrap up this briefing. But I'll send out a fresh set of slides no later than 4 o'clock this afternoon. What about the rest of the week? Because this is our weekly impact weather briefing. And, once we get rid of today's weather system, we have a break in the weather with high pressure for midweek. The next weather maker is going to be late week with the approach of a cold front. And what most people are going to enjoy seeing is this southerly flow out ahead of that cold front. And that's going to warm things up. So I think everybody's looking forward to that. Believe it or not, this southerly flow ahead of this warm front late in the week, Thursday and Friday, should help get temperatures into the mid-60s. Believe it or not, mid-60s for highs come late week ahead of that cold front. And then that cold front moves through, and then temperatures will fall back cold again, but normal cold, not like crazy cold, but closer to normal type cold for this weekend. All right. So in terms of precipitation today, there's and the key thing about today's precipitation, it's going to be light. It's going to be light. We're not expecting a lot. Whatever falls in central North Carolina is going to be light. Dry on Tuesday and Wednesday there. Little hints, maybe some light rain developing on Wednesday as that southerly flow really kicks in, but mostly to our west. And then Thursday and Friday, ahead of that cold front, look for some rain to develop, and it will be rain. I've put the word rain right over the graphic there to make sure that folks are aware that what comes Thursday and Friday will be all rain. It's going to be temperatures in the 60s, believe it or not. And then Saturday, that'll be rain as it gets out of here. In the mountains in the mountains, maybe it ends as a brief few snowflakes, but not really, even though it's cooling down, not really expecting any wintry end to this across central North Carolina for the weekend. All right. Looking ahead to the next week, the week after, I think everybody will be pleased to see that temperatures are expected to be near or above normal and precipitation below normal. So much welcome there. All right, this is the summary slide for the rest of this week, basically from Tuesday, after today's weather event, Tuesday through Sunday. A notable warming trend is in the forecast, mid-60s by Friday, turning cooler again by the weekend, but not as cold as it has been. Cool, when I say turning cooler again, I mean closer to normal. No additional winter precipitation problems are expected this week from Tuesday through the weekend. So once we get past this event, not expecting any winter-type events. So anyway, that is the weekly briefing.